Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Roots and Gaps. I am your host, Bee. Today we will be finishing up on the topic of the word Miao with the positive side. I will be sharing several videos of Hmong people in China to be talking about this topic. The first two would be two people from Yunnan province. One, her name is Ntxiav. She is Hmongb or White Hmong, just like a lot of us in America. And then there's the guy, his name is Hoon. He is also from Yunnan, but he's not Hmongb. The way he speaks Hmong is a little different. So just a little backstory about Hmong accent. There's different accents in America. There's Hmongb, Hmongjua, Hmongling also. There are a few words of Hmongjua and Hmongling that's a little different. However, Hmongling Hmongjua is very similar, but his is very different. So I don't know what it's called, but let's see what they both have to say about the word Miao.
Là nó mấy đầu tiên là nông địa Miao Miao như ha猜到哩讲，一个国家开的，就被做个点蒙我鸟流入地球，就老晒，而且老个宝贝蒙鸟被说呢，呼噜说嘛呼我苗族，看你呼英语那在英语，才路没干了，路没干了在你个还点苗了是蒙，还苗了是蒙，但是有点。cho địa cứ tin mong ở nhớ lũ tết cho nó giờ lỡ chỉ hai mèo lỡ hai mong lỡ hai linh nó sẽ lỡ chỉ hai mèo em nhớ bị số bị nó cho địa ví dụ cho số nó giờ lỡ họ chỉ bảo vệ mèo lỡ chỉ bảo vệ mong của mong này em lỡ翻译lỡ thay lũ cho lũ tết cho lỡ hai cho bé mong nó giờ lỡ chỉ hai mong lỡ hai mèo the Miao people the Miao people là hai linh nó, cho cứ tin mỗi người nhớ lúc đấy chờ là họ sản nông sản Miao như hai nhà thay tao đi chả, cái bộ bao thế cái bao nó gì cái khi mình chỉ cho biết sự đời.
So when asking the question, she explained a lot. She pointed out that we, the outside Hmong people of China, know of our name Miao. She also stated that in English, it's either Hmong or Miao, depending on where it's translated from. And then she also states that the Hans don't know that we call ourselves Hmong. So when they translate our name as Miao. So I want to talk about the part where she says that the Huns don't know that we call ourselves Hmong. This is very true. A lot of them don't. Some of them do, but very few. I say this because when I speak to mainland Chinese people and I say, oh, I'm Hmong, a lot of them don't know what I am. They'll be like, what do you mean? Hmong is in Mongolian? And I'm like, no. Not Mongolian, Hmong as in Miaozu. And then they'll be like, oh, okay. And then they start having conversations with me about it. And they'll mention things that, we still do. Like, like certain type of foods that we still eat, but then maybe we might do it a little different. There are some things that are slightly different, which kind of makes sense because if we migrated for a while, some things would change, right? It's kind of like my mom, my dad, my mom's side, they can't eat like heart. For Hmong folks, if you hear that, you probably know that my mom is Hmong. And then my dad's side is different. I just tell them that, different Hmong are different. And then going on further about what she said about that they didn't know that we are called Hmong, they also didn't know that we migrated out too. Like there's some of us that migrated out. Because when I said that once to them in person, they're like, what? You guys migrated out? Like they were so confused. So I noticed that it was very difficult to explain, so therefore I just try not to explain too much anymore because it's too hard to explain, because now it's like, okay, I don't really truly know the details of what exactly happened, just the minor detail. That's the issue at the moment, is there's a very big disconnect between us Hmong in America, in Southeast Asia, and with Hmong in China, and also with Chinese in general. So going on further about the miscommunication and the disconnect, I was very afraid to tell the mainland Chinese people that, oh, I'm Hmong as in Miaozu. I was so afraid because of stories that was told to me growing up. I was so afraid that, if I told them, bad things was gonna happen. So I was so scared, right? But when I said it, they were very nice to me. They said a lot of kind things to me, and I was so shocked. I was confused. I was like, what really went down? Like, what really happened? Like, why are they nice to me? Like, I've been told something else. So this is how I got started. Anyways, let's hear what Hoon has to say.
就是哈里哈的为你讲被说的有冇被蒙老虎都苗族，那你要知道的呢？古堡里人古人知道嘛？哈的人当道理嘛？啥抓呢？要古堡道理，因为民族呢，因为民族是呢，古老直播的哈里是之后个，如哈里的苗，要有呢。要一叫有像因为叫有用类呢，用类呢，你用类呢，为的被摸，尿到头呢头过，尿到被不头过，就像他的被摸吃有里头，为的被摸女，这我练啊，这类呢。
So in his statement, he says that we're called Miaozu was pretty much because it is believed that we are the first to learn how to plant seeds. In my previous video, I did state that there's some truth to it. I think there's more things to look at when it comes to just the context of it. Let's see what Ntxiav has to say.
为了家鸟被说被了，我家好湖被蒙和苗族。不打过都弄的那你孩子要了，鸟被蒙了，被蒙偏说么被这凶了，这被蒙了，么被这凶，还被蒙很抓住，鸟都逮着，鸟都逮的那你很抓住说明句，这头我只有，头的只有头路是还个这被蒙了都好装 play， 这叫 you。叫 U 呢，这鸟被说被呢，叫路说女蝴蝶苗，女蝴苗，叫 U play 呢，叫 U play 呢，这你这里还得禾苗秧苗，你还得秧苗呢，这鸟被说呢，苗你猜到的出错呀呢，出错呀用的种动你来应用么叫 U， 看种种你来么叫 U。这只单车你都没有，问题人这里接受，这被某女要还能我，他还能我了家长 play 的呢，这叫如何和苗那这，来这里没被某和苗，要被说被那就说了还得苗族那这，应用还被某了。
So she pretty much says the same thing as Hoon. She also expands on it by saying that everything starts with seeds. Everything grows by starting with the seed. This is just her way of telling us that it's a good name. What I think it's the most important is that she says specifically that when they say Miao, then they're talking about us. I think that's the most important thing because everyone keeps saying a lot of things, right? And if you start doing research about it, right, a lot of people start saying a lot of things, but they don't go to the source. So when she says, when they're talking about Miao, then they're talking about us. She also states that we've been in China for a very long time. Hence why I don't claim that I used to claim that we're nomads, but I don't claim it anymore because if we're doing based off of timeline, right? Because the thing that we talk about is like she was talking about, or Ntxiaw, right? And then the migration, then that's the Qing dynasty. So that means we lived through the entire dynasty. So we've been there for a very long time. So nomads, from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, nomads are people who continuously move around, right? We didn't move until war happened. We just happened to stumble across time after time where there's always a war that's going on. But after those incidences, right, we didn't migrate. Hmong in America stayed in America. Hmong in Laos are still in Laos. Hmong in Thailand are still in Thailand. Hmong in Vietnam are still there. Hmong in Burma are still there. Hmong in China are still there. There's no thing of, oh, they keep migrating because of, crops or the seasons or whatnot. No, there was just, if they're there, they're there. So the next video that I will be sharing, it's also another person from Yunnan. Her name is Pa Vang. She now lives in the US. So this is why I said Hmong American is no longer the same. In this video, we will see Ntxiaw in here too, but I won't play her video on what she talks about because she pretty much says the same thing. We already know what she will say about it.
汉南节目就碰鱼波的农古大棒，哎，为里讲到湖北和蒙呢，但实在都没报道的，阿边侬南节古的还蒙路城呢，头古蒙车咗跟古节古布的，每碰到呢又將到個落落，又阿碰不落波上頭唔足你碰到哦，你莫浮咗太就發大我嘅又 maybe 比較上咪不落就上頭，我就說你莫你扣的，好個就你的少了，你的少做的被蒙。3秒.
So I've seen this video a couple times, and when I first saw this and I heard this, I was like, whoa, 3 Hmong is real? I said this because I learned that growing up as a kid, but I didn't know if it was true because, like I said, as I started growing up, there were so many stories to where I started to be like, I don't know what's true anymore, and then I stopped caring, right? However, to hear this from someone who's actually from China and to see that it actually does exist, I was so shocked and pretty excited and happy about it. It was like a happy, thrilling feeling.
他妹子报道为里讲多少哟和蒙和苗族，我一样这个我还就没报道苗族拢被那这只要说么塞就蒙，要蒙么耳朵叫 doctor， 他为罗罗弄的没路没就没好多人那没生活没和你讲，我上路上蒙不大被要塞被和我苗。
So this is something very different, right? I actually want to see these documents that she was talking about. Not that I don't believe her. It's more about like, I just want to see it because like I said, growing up, there's so many stories, right? So to see that there is something concrete, that's actually very nice to see. When she mentioned the word doctor, I'm not sure if she actually meant scholar or doctor, because in our language, when we say the word doctor, we tend to use it loosely to explain a doctor or a scholar. If I ever get to meet Pa one day, I do want to ask her because, it'll be nice to know and for it to be clarified. The other thing that I want to talk about is she pointed out that these two people, either scholars or doctors, are the ones that gave us the name. So we were given the name by our ancestors. Now this changes everything, right? So we shouldn't say that it's a bad name. I know that it's just an experience that some of us have. However, to hear that it's from our ancestors, why would our ancestors give us a bad name? Our parents wouldn't give us a bad name, right? So if we think about that, it could be that back then our language was different. Who knows? But it does make sense why the Hmong in China likes the name Miao.
我报大娘不老的这每一脚都能下配配这谁吹比较猛和喵喵，但是还就没得喵它喵，你只一样。 喵这要被哈里咪了，咪喵喵喵，咪过喵喵喵，但是这喵你哈里要好多那个头读走教育，你要还做一样根据的，你要做纸旁上没有被他老旁直播上堂做呢，被蒙多自由，被多讲来叫我自由，得走我有了，但是留还多那手里要一啊，没有说啊，不得去走。我都这么多渣啊，这么例子们自动啊，但是比较猛要好个头就都能够走叫有走哦有走这有了，还能这样就做的喵这你要明白有，这么一样这就要好多 doctor 呢你上做的，背下大背要有好多能够背么根据，罗么背就凶这背么背就凶，哎哟，这但是背有我讲的 prove 呢，背你 evidence 你要读呢，好那这背就不在讲斗呢，叫个。叫说不口叫和昂没有很脏的，努力讲都莫理这你这少大兄呢，两只出事，或者不论梦里论都要瞄，还那要还做到你这么 evidence 有证据表明，还那这你就要一样么 prove，还的梦要有好多能够鸟是很得力讲，好多 doctor 呢不就在这啥的，一样这要不要梦的大，二样这要。路背呢，路头我路的十做或者都个，就都能老就老子么少做旁都不都少里拿了，这被人的被要蒙，他被人的被要瞄。
I forgot to mention that Pa Vang is Hmong, so for those of you who are Hmong, when she said che, you know, Hmong, we say ge. So it's for those who don't know Hmong. I also want to discuss the fact that she mentions that we're not pronouncing it correctly. This is very true because when I first talked to mainland Chinese people, and I tried to say Miao, a lot of them didn't understand what I was actually trying to say. It took several tries for them to understand because I couldn't pronounce it correctly. It wasn't until someone actually understood that, Hmong, I heard you before. Yes. I know what you are. And then that's when she was like, yeah, you're pronouncing it wrong. It's Miao. And I don't remember how I was pronouncing it back then, but I remember that she was correcting me on how I was pronouncing it. The main thing that I do want us to understand is that she did point out that these scholars did see that we were the first to learn how to farm and that we've been in China for so long that, they decided to give us the name Miao. And so, therefore, the Hmong in China, claimed the name Miao. The next video is going to be a guy from Guizhou province.
还早可能呢，我都到北南澳绕，我都别到绕上了。不老得对了，不老得天北毛那么澳脚地啊，那叫苗，那还没有苗。
So here it goes again with the pronunciation. It's kind of like if you've seen some videos, some people spelled it M-E-O as Miao. It's pronounced Miao as M-I-A-O.
Miao 那么要那才好的说，但是北湖北都看没叫好还有毛北之海，但是蒙嘛少都说嘛少知道啊。苗那么才还有说是。学或大桥叫蒙到八到半路和苗，但是苗呢，那么呢，路见了一老路容差不了，苗那么要还得都有不来，都叫不来你话有不来嘛，有不来。苗呢少都学能少一大列，不老放看。某天都牛沟那可能，那不少。可能没有老路那么容差不了一老路，但是某一叫给抽签还得蒙对了有一还能搜讲不来，然后苗了嘛苗了有不来天，那少的都没有意大利， 可能有一行绒对啊，都把它对能吃能喊这么的话，喵天都米都米高是吧？但是只要还点嘛，还苗族嘛，一路被用差不了，一路被
族那还才到的，
族嘛international 一喊呢。
So pretty much he says the same thing. Now, in case you're wondering why I'm playing so many videos of so many people from China saying the same thing, it's mostly because I want to show you guys that they're consistent on what they're saying. If anyone were to say something different, and if they were to claim that they're from China, then I would think different of them because Hmong in China are very consistent about what they say.
蒙那边球队嘛，我到巴到不，被古都看嘛，被好蒙那边被还被有坡，我对巴嘛还碰蒙，我对巴还搞都，我对巴还搞闹，我对巴还搞凶，no 都看，但是教呢大桥都有苗族。对苗族。
เรามองนั่นเนี่ยยัดจะชวนในปุหุนอะไรมองนั่นเถอะ
มองเขาคนเนี่ยเราไปกว่าจะตัวมองเลยปานนั้นแบบเขามอง一喊呢那这ไปรู้จักนู喊นู叫มอง但是นูคน都听叫阿红都มอง呢
So now he brings up saying some Hmong in China actually said the word Hmong differently. He would say that, his group, we pronounce it Hmub, right? Hmub. Sounds similar to Hmong, right? Just kind of like Yiham, kind of like when we distinguish between Hmongb and Hmongb, right? Because that's what we hear majority of the time in America. Like, for example, the word mom, right? Hmongb, we say Nia. Hmongb, they say Na. This also makes sense to how Pa Vang earlier was saying 3 Hmong. If you start doing research about China, right, there's so many mountains that segregates people to where language becomes different. And then if that's the case, there's going to be several different Hmong languages, not just accents. Now that I mentioned that, some might be talking about the term Hmong Mu Xiong. I actually want to say that I used to think Hmong Mu Xiong is a thing, but I stopped thinking that way. Because if it's a language thing, then if we were to use their language, then instead of me saying Gu Yam Hmong, no, right? And if I'm using their language, then I'll be saying I am Hmub. The other thing is we're pronouncing it Mu and Xiong, when in actuality we don't know how it's being pronounced, right? Because this isn't Hmong RPA. This is Hmong in China's RPA. So therefore, if we were to use Hmong America's RPA, right? Then sure, it's pronounced Mu, right? Then what about Xongb? We can't sound that out based off of our RPA. But we have the last name Hmong, right? And then because there's a B onto it, some of us just go Xiong. But we're not sure if it's pronounced that way. But like I said, if it's a language thing, then we shouldn't say Mu, because what if it's pronounced something else, right? When he says the word M, I would think M is closer to Hmub. That's just me at the moment because there's no concrete evidence of Hmong Mu Xiong as 3 Hmong. The only 3 Hmong that I only heard when researching about this and hearing them talk, I only hear them talk about Western Hmong, Central Hmong, and Eastern Hmong.
红的Hmong呢？但是你山呢地晓得你山我一喊呢，但是我知道，你和你书叫一二背不了，你和能搞，你和娘搞。但是背好Hmong那么背还背叫那么娘搞那么背这还娘搞背好久啊。
So I saw this video a couple times, but I still think it's funny because growing up when I was learning how to count as a kid, and when I would get to 20, I would say "Otyo," and my parents were like, no, that's not right. It's Ningao, right? It reminds me of my childhood because he mentioned this. I thought it was kind of cool how some of them actually do say "Otyo."
เขานอนก็บอกต่อเดียอีหลอลัวก็อยู่หายโจจะเนี่ยจิกตินจัดเสด็จหายเจ้าเขาว่าเมียวจูอย่างเที่ยวว่ามงที่เมียวนั่นนี่ก็อยู่แค่ตัวเป้เสด็จหายเดียลูเมียวนั่นยังจะชัวนึกเชื่ออีลูเบยังลูเบจงphần trong để bây giờ chỉ cái trả tua thế chả mình cái này tôi chỉ làm tua cái tên rồi luôn bề nó hay chỉ mình thế rồi mua tiêu là giả sư
So I like how they both come into an agreement and said that, well, it was pronounced incorrectly, so therefore it led to many different things. I did want to mention that he says that there's Hmongb and Hmong in Guizhou province, and they say Hmong too. Hence why I said it's a language thing where Hmong means Miao, but then when it comes to the subgroups are more like Hmongb, Hmongzhuo, Hmong, and then in China there's way more than that. There's Hmongxi, Hmongbe, Hmonglia, Hmongdu, and etc. There's so much more. This next video, it's going to be another two people, one from Yunnan, one from Guizhou province too. I'm not gonna go on to the topic of them talking about the word Miao because for now we know that they're gonna say the same thing. What I want to share is whether or not they claim it's the same thing. What I mean by that is, do they claim that, oh, Hmong in Yunnan and Hmong in Guizhou, are they the same thing? Or Hmong in Hunan, are they the same thing? Or Hmong in Sichuan, Hmong Guangxi, are they the same? Are they considering everyone as Hmong, right? And therefore, is Hmong really just Miao, right? Cool. So before I play the video, the girl in the middle, she's actually an actress. If you're interested, I'll leave the link below if you want to watch her. She's actually pretty cool in there.
Nhớ lìa tỏ Yunnan cái nhau thế tỏ của chơi lời nhau này ni alo sang là này ni cú số thì sẽ để mong nhà là ni xài chả.
Nha, bây giờ số tí à mà. Bây giờ chỉ tao muốn chạy đuổi khỏi tiền vì tiền bây giờ chẳng nhớ tí bây tao tao nè. Bây tao tao thì lúc rồi này có hai tí chơi lo này lúc này chuẩn bị xài đi, khối mình cho lúc số. Chỉ có một giờ ban tờ là có một giờ đi liên à, cho lưu số thứ sáu, thì chủ yếu thầu biết hay lo tàn thoại thì official ở whole country tí cho số cần tới chỉ Mandarin nữa, tới khi giờ có một giờ ilu CD nên cho lưu thứ giờ nè, tí cho số kia cho lưu số đó, thì con này họ thì cho lưu muốn là bây giờ bố thì có nhớ phát chân là chỉ có cho lưu muốn yên tờ rõ này chỉ bây giờ chỉ muốn họ thì chạy thì ô cái hay chỉ tao của họ luôn này chỉ cái gì mong bây giờ một phần bây một họ thì thầu bây sai cái đại thì là để có thể phơi của để我是描述的chỉ muốn lên từ thì cũng chỉ là mua của sao muốn là cũng chỉ là số một của muốn của cái chuyện này thì họ thì sai đại thì sự có hay của chính trang nhà thầu của sai kia có thể wow là sau thì cái muốn của tiêu dùng sẽ làแต่ว่า bây giờ muốn là chỉ biết chỉ mua họ chạy nè thì họ cái chạy này chỉ trong cái này sau đầu bây nhau lúc tới chạy thì bọn mình tàu biết chúng họ chạy theo rồi lại quay thoát chạy bây sau đầu cậu có xí tàu ấy cả cho lùi xí thủ tin lòng rồi quay rồi bà ta này hay kia trâu bắp phơi tin đấy xí chị ý tưởng mình nhớ đấy sang tới chờ chị thầu có chỉ cho lùi họ nên cho mình nhọn thôi của cháu thì hay lùi tiêu là thứ theo tại sự nên là rồi quay của cháu bố lùi số lùi cả lùi muốn chỉ thằng nó cũng thà đứng gì ở bây giờ thế nào này chỉ còn nó giờ mua thì bị sai giờ cũng mình nhớ đấy khó chơi nó cho của cho lại chỉ luyện không chỉ chơi tiệt lo chơi tiệt lấy mua lấy họ luôn mong thế nè giờ còn
mất sẽ tỏi thì bây giờ mìnhอยู่จะมีการอะไรชื่อเกิดลุงห้องเจริญสปอร์ตห้องเรามีการเจนเมื่อไปจะมีอยู่ฟักกีเต้แล้วลูกฟักกีเจนเขาเลยให้เจชิชัวเต่าหลัง
เจเขาหมดสารเนี่ยจะมีอยู่แต่ชิ้นนั้นนะยังเขาให้ลุงmong là lấy chế luôn cả chắc lần nữa nè họ giờ thì đừng nó yêu tiệt tận đây nó sợ cho các mình cho tìm là tây thay tây sợ bởi vậy họ luôn thế nào
để thay tao thì có sẽ được thay nhà xe cho phải thì sẽ phải hay luôn chỉ là ít bộ phận ít dạng là có sẽ được dùng xe để phải ít trong mong.
So this is why I state that it's a language thing. They don't say that they're different. They're saying that we're Hmong alike. This is why I said I wouldn't say Hmong Mu Shong is a thing, because if it's a language thing and if it is pronounced correctly, then we will be saying, oh, I'm Shong too. Like I said, Hmong is Miao. Miao is Hmong. It's just a difference of language. It's a general word to recognize our people. The subgroups are more like the different accent, right? For example, I am white Hmong, I am Hmongb. For Hmong folks who understands this, my father's side is Hmongb, and my mom's side is Hmongb. When talking about subgroups, it's more like that. This goes back to me talking about Western Hmong, Central Hmong, and Eastern Hmong. In Chinese, it would, Western Hmong would be Shibu Miao, Central Hmong would be Zhongbu Miao, Eastern Hmong would be Dongbu Miao. I want to play a short video of a Hmong person from China sharing different Hmong languages of saying hello. See if any of Hmong Americans recognize one.
如何和不同地方苗族打招呼？
东部方言苗族蒙入，中部方言苗族孟鄂，西部方言苗族娘蓉，东南亚及欧美苗族告蓉，或者直接英语 Hello, nice to meet you。你学会了吗？
快手，拥抱每一种生活。
For those who don't know, Kuaishou is an app that if you live in China, you will use. It's sort of like, how do I say it? TikTok-ish? Sort of. That's the best way of me explaining it. But yeah, she says one word, Miaozu. She says, Ntxawm, hello. So, for those who are interested, that's how we in America say hello. She did says that some overseas Hmong people say Guizhou, I don't know where. The last video that I want to share, it's a person who isn't Hmong. I think he's Caucasian, but he can correct me if I'm wrong. He goes by Jared TLP. He has a channel on YouTube where he likes to travel a lot. And he ran across some Hmong people saying to him that it's a bad word and etc. He experienced it, so I wanted to share this video as the last thing before I close this episode.
Since the founding of the People's Republic of China in 1949, the term used for describing the Chinese Hmong ethnicity, Miao or Miaozu, is not considered to carry the same negative connotations as the past. As one of the officially recognized 55 ethnic minorities in China, the people who use the term Miao today do so freely without the fear of political and cultural oppression that it would have brought them in the past. However, while this may be the case for the Hmong peoples of China, it is not the case in other parts of Southeast Asia. Typically, in the regions where Hmong people migrated, they have been discriminated against by other ethnic groups, such as in Vietnam, Laos, and Thailand. It is in these areas that the term Miao has been adopted by many Thai-speaking peoples and become associated with even more especially insulting meanings for the Hmong people who live there. For them, the term Miao sounds similar to the sound a cat makes, and it has been used to describe the Hmong people as similar to animals, savages, unreasonable, stupid, and more terrible terms. As you can probably tell by now, because of this, there's a significant disconnect between the meaning of the term Miao for the Hmong people in China and the Hmong people throughout Southeast Asia.
Cool. So, if you start doing research about Hmong, no matter what, it's going to go all the way back to China. And then those who keep saying that Hmong and Miao is different, if you start doing research about Hmong, and then once you get to China, they will claim the name Hmong because, like I said, it's a language thing, so they would understand and say, oh yeah, of course I'm Hmong, you know. I might say it differently in my language, or maybe if they do speak the Western Hmong dialect, then yeah, they'll say Hmong. But the main idea that I want us to take from what he said is there is a big disconnect of the word Miao from Hmong in China and Hmong outside of China. If you've been following me since I started my channel, then you'll see that there is.
It's not to say that the two groups are not completely unrelated to one another today, however. Roughly 95% of the Hmong diaspora today still lives throughout Asia, primarily in China, but also Vietnam, Laos, and Thailand. Of the remaining 5%, most can be found within the United States. Since the mid-1970s, as global awareness of Hmong people and their cultures has increased, so too has intercultural exchange between the Hmong people of these various nations. Most Hmong groups around the world, whether they are white, green, black, red, or otherwise, now utilize a common Romanized alphabet and continue to share many similarities in their traditional outfits as well as celebrations. Who knows what will come of increased cultural awareness and communication between these groups in the future.
So I wanted to end it here because he says who knows what would happen between us in the near future. Based off of what he's been saying, I can tell that he knows a lot. He knows about white, green, red, basically different accents. If I didn't say this yet, Miao is not part of our vocab in our language at all. It's just Mandarin. I do want to tell Jared and thank him for sharing his video, his comments. I truly appreciate it. I want to tell him that, we're learning, we're trying to communicate. It's going to be hard, but we're learning. So to sum everything up, Hmong is Miao, Miao is Hmong. The only difference is it's just a language thing. Miao is a Mandarin term, however, it was given to us by our ancestors. If you're using the term Hmong, then you're using our language. If you're using the word Miao, then you're using the term translated by the Mandarin language. Because I believe Cantonese is pronounced differently. The other thing is, since our ancestor gave us the name, it's not a bad term. This is also why I started talking about Hmong as a whole, not as a segregated group. And sometimes I say I don't know because it's way too hard to explain, as we all know already. And then what I mean by like segregated group is a lot of us talking about Hmong Americans. When we talk about Hmong, we're just talking about Hmong De, Hmong Jo, Hmong Ling that migrated from Laos and Thailand. Some of us say, oh, there's Hmong in Vietnam, Burma, and China, but in Vietnam there should be Hmong De, Hmong Jo in there, but there's also Hmong Du, which maybe don't exist in America at the moment, and we never really heard of how the accent Hmong Du sounds like. We've seen certain videos, but we don't hear it often to really know how it sounds like. Just like how Hoon's accent was earlier. Like we don't know. We just never heard Hmong Du. And also Burma, like we claim Burma, but then the way they speak, it's not even Hmong Do or Hmong Jo. We actually don't know what accent it is or what it's called. And then, like I said, China just have so many different accents and dialect of our culture. Lastly, I do want to say to my ethnic group, don't throw away our name Miao, because without it, we don't know who we are anymore. It's entirely up to you. I'm not trying to convince anybody. I can't change everybody. I can't influence everyone's decision. But no matter what happens, because like I said, Hmong America is no longer the same, right? We saw that Pa Vang is here too. She's from China, right? Ntxiav Mim, she's also an American now too. And no matter what, we're gonna have to face it. When that do happen and we do have to face the name Miao, I do hope that only good comes out of it. And I don't know what's gonna happen, but this is the reason why I want to talk about it. The good thing about this, we still have each other. We're able to communicate with each other. So, I hope that, Hmong in China still continues to talk to us. We're gonna hear something different, so it's gonna be hard, but then, it is what it is. Going off of confusions, right? Some of us already started saying stuff like Hmong means free people, when that's not true. The way we say free people in our language is Ntxiav. So Hmong does not mean free people. We already saw from my previous episode. If you've been paying attention to my channel, there was a guy that commented on my previous channel that says Hmong is ma, and for people who don't speak Hmong, ma is in English undefined Asian ethnicity. That's what ma is. So I don't know why he said that. At the same time, I don't know who he is. I've never seen anyone writes like that, because it looks Hmong RPA, but it's not Hmong RPA. It's spelled differently, so I don't know who he is. I just hope that whatever his confusion is, that, hopefully one day he finds peace with it. So for the next video, we're gonna look at how language evolves and how that affected our language, our Hmong language, that is. If you're interested, subscribe, like, and you'll definitely hear some more. Alright, thank you. This is Roots&Gaps, signing out.